it's a game.
I am a woman of my word. So, my life with MS. I have prolonged long enough, and before this month is out, I promised that I would go ahead and do this video because March is MS Awareness Month, so I'm going to talk about my life with MS. And if y'all hear any noise, that is just Marley being Marley at 1 o'clock in the morning, kicking around balls. But you know, I have said many times that I don't fear anything but Jesus Christ. But I have to take that back, and I have to say that, yeah, I only fear Jesus Christ. But there was a time when I feared something else, and that was MS. And that was because I looked MS dead in the eye, and I had to live it, and I'm still living it, but I had to deal with it and deal with the reality of it. And MS kicked me in the ass, okay, and gave me the fight of my life, okay. And I was on the losing side, and I ain't never lost a fight before. And I'm still fighting. I'm still standing. But there was a time with this battle with MS, and I really didn't think I would make it out of it. And dealing with MS, and battling it and dealing with it head on, I experienced fear. And because of that, I think that's why I fear very little in life. And that's why I think I have an attitude to where I care about very little. I mean, I care about a lot, and I care about people, and I care about, you know, I care about my family, and I care about my friends, and, you know, I care about the world, but I just don't care about people's opinions. And I don't, you know, when you start looking at the world in your life and you go through certain things when you don't know if you're going to be here today or tomorrow, and you deal with certain health crises and you don't think that you didn't think you were going to make it a couple more months, it's like you don't give a fuck about what people do and how they act. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to give y'all a little input on my life and just the MS situation, you know, with it being MS Awareness Month. Okay, so I was diagnosed with MS in 2008. I do believe, and my neurologist agrees, that I was probably born with MS. He believes that everyone has that in their body, but something happens and a trigger comes and it comes out. Like we all probably have whatever it is in our bodies, and something can happen. I will tell you that I had a major surgery, and a couple weeks later I was diagnosed with MS. And I have talked to plenty of people who either just recently had a baby, got into a car accident, had surgery, something happened, and suddenly they were diagnosed with MS. You know, as a child, I was always clumsy, falling, doing this, doing that. My mother just always said, "You're clumsy." So as an adult, when things would happen, I would tap or bump into the wall. I never thought it was weird or strange. I just figured, bitch, you're clumsy as fuck. You know what I mean? I never thought of it to be weird. I just like, okay, bitch, you clumsy, you know? And when I lived in an area which was Prince George's County, and which was basically predominantly all African American, black, whatever, there were plenty of times that I went to the emergency room, and every time I was always given a muscle relaxer and sent home. And there was a time when MS was always known to be a white person's disease. And so I didn't think anything of it. They just muscle relaxer, go home, which is the same thing that was going on with Tamia, the R&B singer. She was given muscle relaxers and sent home. Now later on, I moved to the area to where I'm living now, which is predominantly white, Hispanic, a little bit of everything, mixture, whatever. And I had, like I said, I had surgery, and I had taken off 4 weeks from work to have that major surgery done. That's a whole nother story in video. And so I had just went back to work. I think it was like the 5th week I went back to work, and all of a sudden I was like, I just need a muscle relaxer again. I just need an injection. As they would give me the muscle relaxer, like in, you know, your upper butt or whatever. But this particular time, it was different. It was almost like my body was deformed. My hands were all twisted up and everything was all jacked up and stuff. And my friend said to me, girl, I think maybe you had a stroke or a heart attack. And I said, at 31, ain't no way in the world I had a heart attack or a stroke. No, I don't think so. Like, So, long story short, did a lot of testing and things of that nature. And the doctor said to me, well, we got a room available for you. And so, mind you, I went thinking that I'm going to get my injection in my butt and I'm going to go home. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't go to the hospital with anybody or anything like that, because I figured this is nothing big. I'm just going to run down here and get a muscle relaxer and go home and sleep it off. You know how it is. As black people, sleep it off. Everything is sleep it off. Take a nap. Take a nap. Lay your little black ass down. And so they said, we got a bed available for you. And I said, a bed available for who? They said, for you. I said, I don't need a bed. They were like, yeah, honey, you're not going home. And I said, why am I not going home? They said, because I don't know if you know what this is, but you have MS. When I tell you I went the fuck off up in that hospital. So the doctor looked at me just as crazy with the blank stare and said, do you even know what MS is? And I said, yes, I do. I had a patient with MS, because I used to work in home health care years before that. And I had a patient that did have MS. At that time, when I was taking care of her, she had had MS for 20 years. And the crazy part is, when this man told me that I had MS, I had an instant flashback. And to this day, 2016, I can hardly remember any of the patients that I took care of besides this one Greek sweet old lady. But the lady who had MS, I can remember her house. I can remember it being down at the bottom of the hill, up on the hill. I can remember the smell of her house. I can remember her daughter, where her daughter worked. I can remember everything about her. I can remember where her bedroom was located. I can remember everything. I can remember everything about this lady, because instantly I saw myself in this woman. I'm like, is this going to be me? Because this lady was in Pampers. I used to have to feed her baby food. I used to have to lift her with the Hoyer lift. But what I didn't understand at that time is that when this lady was diagnosed with MS, there was no MS medication out. Now, am I saying that MS medication works? I don't know. I can be honest and say that I don't know if it works or not. I honestly am going to be honest and tell you that I don't know. I wish I did know, but I don't. I just don't. But seeing that lady has stuck in my head to this day. I don't know if that lady's living or dead. I don't know. Because this was back in probably about 96, when I was doing home health care and taking care of her. But that lady's image has been forever stuck in my head. And So when I was diagnosed and I started taking medication, the medication made me feel worse. The first medication I took was a drug called Avonex. Taking Avonex was having MS times 10 million. It was like me giving my body MS over and over again weekly. So I finally got fed up one time and I took all the medication and I put it in the fucking trash. And I was like, no more of this. And I went for 6 years medication free. And I felt a lot better. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I felt better. I felt better within myself. I've continued to work. And I kind of try to escape MS out of my mind. Every problem that I had, that probably, not probably, I'm just gonna be honest, it was MS related. I blamed it on something else because I refused to accept that it was MS. And what happened was, when things would happen and I had to go to the hospital, I wouldn't tell them that I had MS because I knew if I told them I had MS, they would relate that issue to MS, and I didn't want to hear that. So I would allow them to go back to doing what they were doing before. Give me a muscle relaxer injection in my ass and send me home. Yeah. So 2014, shit got real. I had a really bad, what we call relapse. You know, drug addicts, no disrespect to you guys, y'all might call them relapse and it's drug induced, but relapse for people with MS is just what we call when we kind of go out of remission, so to speak, or whatever. And this probably to date was the worst that MS did to me. And so I had to do about a week's worth of steroids. But what people don't understand is with steroids, you have a window of time. If you do not get those steroids right away, it doesn't make a difference. So I did 1,000 milligrams of steroids, which I had to give to myself because I refused to stay in the hospital any longer. It just, the fact that I have a son who's not an adult. I have 2 kids who are adults, but a younger son is an adult. And regardless that if I have grown children, a husband, family, friends, or whatever, as a mother, I want to be here with my son. So I decided to come home. And so I had to do my own, medication and my own IV and all that kind of stuff. And the nurse would come at the end and whatever. And so, which the steroids made me extra crazy, okay? And this is why people who do, wrestlers and they do steroids and the basketball, I'm not basketball players, but football players and the boxers, they get all crazy. I see why, because steroids make you want to fight every fucking body, okay? I was getting on my own nerves, okay? 1,000 milligrams of steroids, okay? When I went to go fight an old man, I knew then, don't leave out the house no more, okay? So, what had happened was that although I felt like I was feeling pretty good and looking pretty good, because the misconception that a lot of people get with MS is, well, you look fine. How could you be sick? You don't look sick. And while your outside might look okay, your inside doesn't look okay. Now, I get MRIs, of course, so damn near my whole body because, I have other issues other than MS, which I will tell you that most of those issues, I believe, have been caused by MS. So I'm here at Community Radiology, and I'm about to go in and get my brain MRI. Today, they will only be doing the brain, and they want to see if I have infection in my brain. Which this MRI won't be that bad. I've had MRI done before where I've actually had to come back 3 days in a row because I had to do 2-hour MRIs of the spine, the brain, so on and so forth. Although I've had MRIs done so many times, over and over again, somehow I still hate getting them done.
because I already know that like the results are never going to come back where they're going to be good, or they're going to say, wow, this is an improvement. You know, at the most, or the best that I can hope for is for them to say that your brain or your MRI is stable. And some people look at that like, well, that's great news. And it is, because it could be worse. But knowing the fact of having MS, and knowing that regardless, the damage that's done is done and it's not going to be fixed, it's a little bit hard to deal with. But, you know, this is just one of the things here that I deal with. And I will tell you, because of my anxiety that I have, I don't wait for them to send the results to my doctor. Once I get the MRI, I will come back tomorrow and I'll pick up my own CD, which I don't know what the hell I'm looking at half the time. But I also would pick up the written report, and I can base it off of my older reports, and it kind of gives me an idea of what's going on, so that when I go to my doctor, I'm not like falling out on the ground, crying, screaming. I'm already prepared for what the doctor has to say. And I've actually kind of like just learned to like accept it. Now I'm at the point where no matter what doctors tell me, I really give them no reaction at all, because I've been told so many different things that I just kind of give them the blank stare, the no emotion face, because it's like, okay, what next, that type of thing. But that's gonna be it. I'm gonna go ahead and go in here. I'm not gonna show y'all what I'm looking like, because you know, you go in here for this MRI, you can't be having no jewelry and no fake hair pieces, all this crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking dead to the bed, and I'm tired and exhausted, because I'll be staying up like the night before, stressed out about the MRI, you know, which I have no control over, but it is what it is.
Once you have an autoimmune disease, it triggers other stuff. So after being diagnosed with MS, I also tested positive for lupus. I also have rheumatoid arthritis. I have ankle spondylitis. I also have, and this is not autoimmune, but I do have 2 bulging discs, and I have a slip disc. I also have sleep apnea, which is very common with people with MS. I also have been diagnosed with bipolar. Some neurologists feel like it may or may not be bipolar, but it could just be things that you have going on with your brain that will make you just pop off on a bitch just because. And I deal with depression. That's no secret. But it is what it is. So now these are some of, if you guys can see that, of my brain. The white part is where my brain has been damaged. There is no fixing that. So no matter what medication I take, that is not going to change. So the medication that I take is pretty much to try to get not more damage. When I was diagnosed, and this is what I want people to know, the doctors are human beings. They are not God. They are not whomever you have faith or belief in. The doctor told me in 5 years I would be in a wheelchair. 5 years has passed and gone, and I'm not in a wheelchair. And when the day comes, if I am in one, I will gladly let you guys know, and I will have the most pimped out wheelchair you have ever seen, and I will be popping willies in that bitch, okay? But do not ever let anybody tell you what is going to happen to you. They are not God, and they don't know what's going to happen to you. Okay? Also, I just wanted to say that you have to be your own advocate. You cannot depend on a doctor to have your best interests at heart, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm lucky. My primary care physician loves the hell out of me. Like, I have seen him literally bust tears, okay? Like, literally cry, because he cares that much about me and my health. You know what I'm saying? I get emotional. But like, you have to have a team of doctors that care about you, and some doctors are just about the money, you know. So but you have some that don't care. So just because somebody tells you something, do your own research. And that's with anything in life: your body, your health, your friends, your relationship, everything. Do your own research. Be your own private investigator. Be your own doctor. Don't go by what somebody else tells you. Do your own research. If somebody gives you a medication, don't just take it. Check up on it. Check the reviews on it. Don't just go by what somebody else is telling you. Okay, so now I started off taking Avonex. That made things worse for me. Went without medication. My disease progressed to the point where if it gets any worse and progresses any worse, it's not going to be good for me at all. Even a small progression is not worse. Right now, I still do have active lesions. When I first started out, I only had lesions on the right side of my brain. So all of the issues that I kind of had was on the left side of my body, which the left side of my body is still kind of the bad side of my body, so to speak. But now I have lesions on the right and the left. Now on the flip side, I guess a good part is that I don't have any lesions on my spine. I do have issues with my spine, but it's not MS related. It's just the bulging disc and the slip disc and so on and so forth. So it's not, you know, with the MS. Now if some lesions go back there that are MS related, you can cancel Christmas, because I'm going to be all fucked up. Okay, so the fact that it hasn't progressed past this area as far as the MS, that's kind of good. Now the fact of the sizes of the lesions that I have on my brain are not good, because the neurologist at University of Maryland told me that my brain looks like somebody the age of 80 years old, and that did not make me feel good. But you know, some doctors are not going to candy coat shit for you, and they just are not going to baby you up. However, sometimes I think some doctors do need to take some type of classes for them to learn how to say things in a way. And that's why sometimes when people ask me, like a person, I'm not going to say their name, but a person had asked me, how can you deal with everything that's going on YouTube and you still lights, camera, action? Hey family, easy, because I have been through too much. I can't. I've had doctors tell me some of the craziest shit. I go to doctors on a regular basis, and I'm hearing shit about my life. So when somebody says some crazy stuff to me on YouTube, do you think that I'm gonna get broken down by that? No, I'm dealing with my life. I don't care about this stuff here. No, no. Now, what I will tell you, for anyone, whether you are dealing with MS, whether you're dealing with lupus, whether you're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, whether you're dealing with sickle cell, whether you're dealing with depression, whether you're dealing with bipolar, is to find a support group. But don't find too many support groups. When I first started off with MS, oh my goodness, I joined about 10, 15,000 support groups, and I ended up depressed, because all of them people were so depressed and so negative, and you found people who were in worse situations than I was, and I saw myself in the future, and that's what you don't want. So if you want to get support or support groups, find smaller support groups. And you don't necessarily have to find support from people who have the same disease, but find support from people who can relate. Like sometimes I'll talk to Sexy Harlem 125. She doesn't have MS, but she has lupus. We can relate. We are both dealing with autoimmune diseases, so we understand each other. You see what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily have to have the same disease, but you still understand each other. I watch Frenchie, oh God, don't let me say it wrong, Frenchie J, period, whatever, I'm gonna put her information. She deals with sickle cell. I watch her and I can relate. She doesn't have MS, but I can relate to her because she's dealing with a autoimmune disease. I get it. I get it, you know. Now I will tell you that some of the main issues that I deal with MS are Well, is fatigue is my main issue. Fatigue to the fatigue. Now, you'll deal with fatigue and people will tell you, well, what about taking a Red Bull? No, when you're dealing with MS, it's a different type of fatigue. There's no Red Bull that's going to help you. There's no gummy bear energizer thing that you're going to chew. There's no vitamin that you're going to take that's going to make a difference. There's no nothing. Honey, one of my friends told me to drink some honey and water. It's a different type of party. We're talking autoimmune. Okay, so all that's not going to make a difference. Okay, so fatigue is huge, which I can take prescription medication, which, you know, one thing causes another. Then that's going to keep me up late at night. I already deal with sleeping issues. Anyone who talks to me or watches me on Blab or whatever will know that I can stay up to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on Blab because my brain does not signal my body to go to sleep. I don't give a fuck how tired I am. I can yawn until tears drop down and I still can't go to sleep because my brain cannot signal my body to go to sleep. I deal with a lot of pain. Right now I am waiting on my insurance to see if they're going to cover for me to get this procedure done. Please keep your fingers crossed for me. They said no insurance has ever covered this, but my doctor said that she's going to fill out a novel for me. They gave me a DVD to watch to understand how this is going to work. This is a new one, which is plastic because I cannot get anything other than that done because I have to get my MRIs for my brain. So I'm hoping and praying that that takes place because the pain that I deal with MS and all this other stuff is no joke at all. And like I said, the MS, I do believe, has helped contribute to all the other issues that I have. And yeah, so I also, as far as medication, I started off taking Avonex, worst thing I ever taken. Gabapentin, I had to stop with that. I've taken Lyrica, so I had to stop with that. I also taken Rebif, still have it hanging around. For what reason? I have a pharmacy going on over here. I still have a full box just because I know the cost of this stuff, and it just hurts my heart to just keep it hanging around. And believe it or not, no doctor will take this old medication, nor pharmacy bank. Even though they know people can't afford it, they won't take it, even though it's never been open. Copaxone. The injections, it's so hard for me to shoot myself up with medication. If I get my blood drawn, it doesn't bother me, but for me to shoot myself up, it gives me anxiety. And this is Copaxone, and I had to stop this one. This one has less side effects out of the rest of them. This was my favorite out of the injections, if that even sounds correct. This one didn't give me a lot of bad side effects, but I just hated shooting myself up every freaking fucking day. The needle is pretty small. This one's really not a bad one. I just hated shooting myself up. Copaxone made me feel like somebody was taking a hammer and beating the living shit out of me. So it didn't matter how much Tylenol I took. They were telling me to take Benadryl, drink a lot of water. It still didn't matter. I literally had to go through 3 different neurologists until I found the neurologist that I have now, who told me that some people had died by taking the pills, and I told him that I'd rather take my chances. And that is why I get my blood drawn so often, because people have died by taking the pills, by getting brain infections. And I take now Aubagio. 28 pills comes in this. Catch this. 3 packs of Aubagio cost $16,325. This is why they don't want to cure for MS. I'm just saying. And that comes, all that specialty medicine comes in the mail, drop ship, because it's not at, your local pharmacy. And I will also insert a picture in here of all the medication that I take. I don't pick it up from the street corner, but my medication that I take, for my health. I just want to encourage anybody out there that is going through something. I don't care if it's MS. I don't care what it is. Do not ever let anybody tell you to give up. Don't ever let anybody tell you that this is the end of the road for you, because had I listened to that doctor, honey, I would have already been in that wheelchair, okay? And I'm not. And I'm not saying that I will never be in one. I've already accepted the fact that one of these days that I probably will be in one. I have accepted the fact. I have accepted the fact that this is my new normal. That some things are never going to go back to what they were before. I have accepted the fact that there are things that I used to do that I will never be able to do again. I have accepted the fact that this is my life now. But I will not accept the fact that any doctor who is a human like I am is going to tell me what my life is going to be. Okay? So, those people out there with MS, keep on fighting. Don't give up, because we are in this together. And a special shout out, I don't want to say your name, but you know who you are, okay? She is like my angel. When I was first diagnosed back in 2008, she is my savior, my sister in New York, okay? I love her to pieces, okay? And everybody needs somebody like that, you know what I'm saying? And it is because of her that I can actually extend a hand to other people who are also suffering and dealing with the same thing. And because of that, that is why I come on here and I talk about different things, because I'm not going to come on here and depress y'all with no, I could come on here and I could go to my doctor's appointments every day with y'all. And I could go and check in from the doctor's offices and talk about this and talk about that. But I'm not going to do that. Life is depressing enough. Why would I do that? I'm not going to do that. So this is what it is. I'm always going to incorporate little things like this and just let y'all know, hey, I'm human. I'm going through shit just like you guys are. But I'm still going to get y'all kiki, you know, but this is MS Awareness Month. And for those who are dealing with it or whatever you are dealing with, keep on fighting and never give up. Love you all.